What did he just say?
The Jews.
Correct.
Well, now that we've got all of your attention, Israel is the third rail. I want to say new third rail, but I know it's not new. Israel has been the third rail for a very long time, and it kind of comes and goes. And it seems like right now, anything that you do talking about the Jews makes you one of these two.
What up, TB?
Two polar opposites. Either you're a Nazi and you hate all Jews and they're responsible for everything, including the death of JFK and aliens, or you are a Zionist shill, and Israel can do nothing wrong, including killing 5-year-olds in Gaza right now. Doesn't really register on your radar, but there is a huge, huge piece of ground in the middle where a lot of good conversation can happen and where you can actually get at the truth, but not a lot of people are talking about it. And that's a very, very dangerous place to be. Historically, we've seen that when people run to extremes, it usually ends very poorly. Usually ends in violence, and I want to avoid that. I want to have conversations with people about Israel without having those slurs thrown at either one, and I want to actually find some truth. We need to be able to have honest, very straightforward conversations about these issues that involve Israel and plenty of other subjects, but Israel seems to be the flashpoint right now, and we just don't seem to have that ability. So that's what we're going to try to do today. Let me set it up really quickly with a couple of interviews that recently Tucker Carlson has performed. First was Mother Agapia, a Russian Orthodox.
I didn't know that Mother Agapia was the sister of George Stephanopoulos. I saw that, and I was like, is that a meme? And then I looked further at another meme to verify that the meme was true.
Orthodox nun, and if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. And the interview sparked a lot of controversy. We're not going to dive into everything that was said, but there was one topic in particular that I thought would be very helpful to address and to go into a little bit deeper and kind of try to figure out what it really means, where the church has gone wrong. In some ways,
What church? You're not a part of the church, Gerald. Sorry.
Protestant church, and where...
No, wrong. Wrong, Gerald.
In some ways, maybe they've gotten it right. And that's Christian Zionism.
Yeah. Dispensationalists, evangelicals, they love it.
And what it really means.
They just love it. They probably buy. I bet there's a wall that you can order online. A little fake wall you put up on your you put it on your mirror or something. It's a little, you kiss the wall. It comes with a little Bible kit.
And if Christians even actually know what it means. So she kind of brought this term up in regard to end times eschatology, and I thought it'd be a really good jumping off point for us. So here, take a look at the interview with Tucker Carlson.
Their belief tells them that's so.
I don't know what you're wearing, but it looks comfy. Reminds me of those Snuggies that Weezer had during that video. I bought one right away, and I love it. The thing I love most about my Snuggie is that it's impossible to tickle me through it.
It's okay. We want to have this third world war because we're going to be taken away. And we'll be okay, and we'll come back later after all the fighting's done. That's sort of basically what their theology tells them. And in the meantime, all the Jews are supposed to convert to their brand of Christianity or die in the conflagration.
And so I'm asking you this because you're a nun.
Right.
That's not a Christian. It's not a
Christian belief, no. Or precept. Yeah.
Huh. Any idea where that came from? That idea?
The rapture?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, originally the idea of having the 1,000-year kingdom is a heresy that was in the early church. But the real push of all that comes from the 1830s. James Darby, Schofield.
Can I get a kissing the wall green screen? That's a good idea, Matthew. That's not a bad idea. Order myself a PragerU yarmulke. Do a little skit every time. Like every time I do the dancing thing where I go, oi! I should have a stream deck where the wall comes on, and then I turn around and I have another stream deck asset that puts a yarmulke on my head.
Or John Darby, Schofield. It's it's a new theology that has no basis in the foundations of Christianity. It has nothing to do with it.
So that might not be a point that really stuck out to you, but it was that stuck out to me. And don't worry, we do have a very special guest with us. We'll get to him.
Suzanne Griffith, $5. Thank you. You're more Tucker than Tucker. I know.
Him in just 1 minute. He is waiting very patiently, and we will dive into that. But I also wanted to play another clip from Tucker Carlson because he's been getting a lot of flack as somebody who seems to be one-sided in his reporting. You can have any guest on you want. You can really conduct interviews, I guess, any way that you want. But a lot of people are starting to pick up on trends with Tucker and call him out. Sometimes rightfully so, sometimes not so much. This is one that he got a lot of flack for. And at the time, I thought this was actually a very, very fair exchange. This is when he was talking with Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz quoted Genesis 12:3 as his reason for supporting Israel. Watch.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was
Growing up in very little.
I mean, he almost has the curls himself.
Growing up in
taught from the Bible. Those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
I want to be on the blessing side because Israel's a state. It's a location. Ugh. So that's what it is, Tucker.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't.
I could find. I don't have anything on hand right now. I'm just selling things to you, Tucker. I don't have anything right now.
Have the scripture off the tip of my.
You could put. I don't have the scripture on the tip of my forked tongue right now. I don't know. I didn't know which point of my forked tongue to put the scripture on, Tucker. I don't
pull
know.
out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But
So you're a fork-tongued demon.
so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology.
Is that your theology? It's like I don't want to make any suggestions here, but I do want to. Part of me wants to look closer at your head and see if there's horns growing out of your skull.
Yeah, I'm confused. What does that even mean?
What does it even mean?
Tucker, hold on.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay.
You stop it right there.
Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one,
From the bank, from your pockets. That's where it comes from. It comes from a little note that says, "Hey, you want to work for AIPAC?"
And it comes from a little check, or a little side check that comes in the mail. Comes from a direct deposit. Where does my support for Israel come from? Right from the deposit, right from the bank. Right from the bank, Tucky.
one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Hold on.
I'm not holding.
No.
We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
I got a pinky ring. Tucky. Tucky, don't ask me questions about my theology, Tucky.
We're commanded to support Israel, and
What does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel. Do you not know what Israel is?
You don't know what it is? It's on the news every day, Tucky. Israel's right on the news. You see that? See that star in the blue, Tucky? You don't know what it is? Bibi? You ever heard of Bibi? Huh? You ever hear that? You ever hear blowing up little Palestinian children in little chunks? You never heard of that?
That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis
A country. Genesis referring to a geopolitical entity that was established in 1948. I mean, this is like Mormon level.
That's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
The nation of Israel. It says it right there, 1948. It says it right there, Tucky.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
Yep. Talking about 1948 right there, Tucky.
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's...
I'm a piglet. I'm a little piglet. I'm just a little piglet, and I already got my bird. Someone branded me. Look at my brand, Tucky. It's a little Star of David. I got a brand on my butt. I'm Porky Zionist pig.
He's discussing
Tucky.
a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants of Abraham.
I like that show, Yellowstone, where they brand themselves. Tucky.
Referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
The political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You
that is
believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
Yep. Yeah, I do. God spoke, breathed life into the scripture. And he said, listen here, you're going to support the 1948 political distinction Israel. You're going to wait until 1948, and I want you to support it until 1948, even though you don't know what it is until then, Tucky. And that's what we're instructed to do, and I'm a Christian, and that's what I do. I read the Bible, and I say, look, it says the word Israel in the Bible. And because it says the word Israel in the Bible, I'm going to just line my pockets. And God told me to line my pockets with Israeli money. Tucky, what kind of game you play with me, Tucky?
But
That country's existed.
It's kind of a slippery little move you did there.
Since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying...
Yeah, there was a time biblically where all those people were dispersed, and it no longer existed the way it did. And then Christ came and started the church, and he's the new body. And the new Israel is the body of Christ, which necessarily needs to be the true church, Tucky. But the true church is the state of Israel since 1948, Tucky.
I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay.
That's not what it says. And those people, even though they broke the covenant, they rejected God, they're still so chosen. They're still God's favorite crumpets. They're still the bagels, you know. God cleared out the pastry case and kept the bagels. Tucky, you got to understand it like this. God's favorite tray of pastries is the bagels, top shelf. He still chose them. They rejected him, fell on the floor. He picked them right back up, put them right back on the top shelf. He said, "Oh gosh, I love the bagels."
Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can...
I don't remember the scriptural citation.
That was rough. Tucker seemed to have his questions well thought out, asked some very good questions. But look, is he right to...
Even though God divorced himself from the bagels, he still likes a nice everything bagel, cream cheese once in a while, Tucky.
I mean, is Ted right? Do we need to support Israel, the modern state, as Christians? What is Israel?
Top shelf, Tucky, right on the top shelf. Freshest bagels. God's bagel pastry shop.
And who makes it up?
Yeah, the top one, that's where it smells so good in there, Tucky. Smells so good. It's top shelf onion bagel, cheese bagel, salt bagel. Even got all pimento olive cream cheese, Tucky. It's the best of the bagels. No matter how many times they fall on the floor. Doesn't matter how overcooked they are in the ovens. They are God's chosen bagels.
Is Christian Zionism, and is that the real reason that Christians support Israel in the first place? With me in just a second will be Andrew Wilson to discuss this and many, many more topics. But this brings us to our latest installment of Gerald Apologizes Apologetics.
Gerald Apologizes Apologetics.
It doesn't mean that.
It doesn't mean that, but whatever. Okay, it's fine. With me now, the man in darkness, shrouded in smoke, typically, the Andrew Wilson. Hey, look, where can people, before we get started answering all of these questions, which I'm sure will draw zero controversy from the interwebs, where can people find you and support you?
New impression unlocked. You know, it's funny with my impressions that they start kind of like on the nose, and then they devolve into insanity. With Ted Cruz, it just immediately went to insanity. It's interesting.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube on The Crucible. Pretty easy. Just type in The Crucible, and you'll see my content pop right up. You can find me on Twitter at PaleoChristCon. You can find me over at Rumble, where I'm going to start doing the extravaganza again this next week, starting at, I believe, the 5 p.m. Eastern time slot. Yeah. So you can find me all over the place.
Fantastic. You just said something. You can search you on YouTube and your content will pop right up. Must be nice. Fantastic. I'm not sure who you're paying over there for that, but slide me a number. It'd be great if our content was like that.
What do you mean? You search Crowder and it doesn't pop up? What do you mean? What are you talking about, dude? What are you even saying?
Okay, so you saw the two different clips, and they're two kind of different jumping off points, but I wanted to kind of expand upon a conversation that you and I have had in very kind of brief detail, right? You and I talk every once in a while when these issues come up. Maybe sometimes you'll chime into an X post that I make, or vice versa, and then we'll text or something like that. And what I have seen as a Protestant is that there is this
Boo! Boo!
I guess, bad theology that's floating around.
As a Protestant, you see bad theology? Yeah, dude. Yeah. This is why I would never make it on this show. God bless Andrew. I would have stopped and be like, you mean Protestantism? It's like, what I see as a Protestant, I see this really bad theology.
Posts that I make, or vice versa, and then we'll text or something like that. And what I have seen as a Protestant is that there is this really, I guess, bad theology. This
Clip it, folks. Right there's your clip right there.
It's floating around there about the state of Israel. And anytime I bring that up, anytime I try to have some clarification.
See, I got to commend Andrew. He knows what the purpose of this is. Doesn't want to derail it into a debate about Protestantism. But boy, with my lacking, perhaps, of self-control in these moments, would have been like, you mean Protestantism? When you say bad theology, sorry to interrupt. Gerald, I don't mean to interrupt on your own show, but when you say bad theology, do you mean Protestantism? Do you mean Protestantism? I couldn't have helped myself.
I immediately get labeled a Nazi, which is really funny because the day before I am a Zionist shill, which is really hard to do, but I take the hats off and get the checks wherever I can get them, I guess. And I just kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way to have these conversations. There's got to be a better way to try and figure out where the truth actually lies, instead of all of this extreme rhetoric and all of the people just saying everything that Israel does is completely fine and everything that they do is absolutely horrible, and they're trying to completely subjugate every other government on the planet and everything else. And I'm just like, God, we're not getting anywhere with this. And I've just historically seen it not work out well. And one of the things I wanted to put to bed for Christians was what
GL on the debate today. Do I have a debate today? I don't think I have a debate today.
Christian Zionism actually is and what the Bible.
Let me know if I do, though. That would be good to know.
Bible actually says about it. But you actually posed a really good starting place right before that. And that's kind of the crux of the whole issue, is that does Israel actually protect Jews, or having the modern state of Israel, or does that put them at more risk? And is that why people are mad? So what was your thinking with that, Andrew? And tell me what your opinions are.
Well, I did a debate with a...
Do I need help on Cyper chats? What do you mean, ducks? I've never seen a super chat from you.
A pretty well-known Christian apologist. Now Christian apologist. He's converting over to Orthodoxy, I guess, at some point. Catechumen now. Where we did this debate on Christian Zionism and went through all of this. So the first thing to point out is the reason that you have so much trouble having this conversation at all is because of organizations like CUFI, which have their tendrils in everything, trying to make sure that all Protestant apologetics revolve around the Ted Cruz framing there. The Ted Cruz framing being that Christians have this kind of moral ought to support the modern state of Israel, when in fact we don't.
Gotcha.
Now,
so tell people the CUFI, that's John Hagee, right? That's his organization that he leads.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, CUFI has more members, I believe, than Israel has people in it.
It's true. So it's true. I think it's over 10 million people.
Yeah, over 10 million. Yeah. And this sort of theology, there's lots of paychecks which are switching hands. You can find out
dude, just that is pretty wild. That single stat is insane. That the concerted effort toward Israel's interests, and he'll extrapolate more, but like specific goals. The participants dwarf the very population of the entity.
a lot about Kufi. Anybody who wants resources on it, I can. You can just DM me. We'll send it over. There's a whole lot of bad news going on with Kufi, but that's its own kind of rabbit hole to dive into.
Correct. Yeah.
And I would rather stay on the idea. I think where this begins is with eschatology.
That's probably a good move on Andrew's part. Not because he couldn't get into it, but because Kufi probably has its own military. And militaries have their own snipers.
Now, Gerald and I kind of have a fundamental disagreement here. I guess before we dive into that, why do you think eschatology is not kind of the crux? Because now you got me curious.
I knew you were going to bring it back. So I think there's just a fundamental misunderstanding from the views that I have seen. So I, as a Christian...
We're at 13 to 50, y'all. This is pathetic. Maybe it's Saturday. Who knows? Maybe it's the content. Maybe it's my eagle hat. But 13 to 50 with an hour left is... It's depressing. It's depressing. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you like this bouncy house? And you're like, yeah. You're like, cool. Hey, thanks for the bouncy house, bro.
Don't believe that what she said, mother, is it Agapia? Agapia? I don't want to mispronounce it, be insensitive. But
Agapia, I believe.
Agapia, okay.
Yeah.
That what she said was completely accurate. She was asked a question.
He's a non-man, she'll forgive you.
All money was spent on beer and barbecue. I need a beer now. I should have gotten beer for this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I might say something where she's like, I'm not going to forgive you. That's, I'm not going to hold it. I'm not going to send, but I'm also not going to forgive you, or I'm going to do it in private.
Kelly Mitchell, $5. Thank you. Disbees. Praying through an icon. Bad. Also, praying to a wall. Good. That's actually funny. That's a good counter, dude. Or lady. Kelly. Pat Fussy. It's actually hard to say your name and not say it the obvious way. $5 for Simon Schmiegel. Simon Schmiegel.
So you'll never know. No, what I'm saying is that she was asked a question about the harpazo, the rapture, and so I then heard her pivot to the millennial kingdom, and I was like,
Duck says, JB, should I go back to tech or try to? No, go to divine liturgy.
well, hold on, those two things are not connected necessarily. They don't have to be connected. They're around the same time frame. They are eschatology, but you can believe in no rapture at all and still believe in the millennial kingdom, right? So I didn't understand why she pivoted. So one, I was like, well, that seems like a weird
she was asked a specific
answer.
question about where this comes from, and she points out Darby.
Well, she went to Darby after she went to the millennial kingdom, and that being a heresy in the early church. And I know that was said a heresy in like the three somethings at one of the councils. And so I thought, like, okay.
Carrie Newman, when you realize America is just Israel's NGO with a military, yeah, we're like their rabid Doberman pinscher, like boomer rabid Doberman pinscher.
Well, I understand where that come from, like dispensationalism, right? So you start to see Israel in a different light, but I thought,
like, Israel's like the little smart, Pinky in the Brain. I mean, this dynamic is ever present. Pinky in the Brain, Ren and Stimpy, Princess Bride, the giant, and the little fast talking smarty pants. America's like the big dumb oaf. It's like, okay, you're so scheming and good at what you do.
like, that's not necessarily.
Maybe it's Saturday. You sound like a self-conscious calendar.
Necessarily why
That's funny.
Christians support Israel, because a lot of times they point back to Genesis 12:3, and it's completely disconnected from their eschatological views, right? But I understand
but
the
not
ties.
really. But not really. Let me walk you through it, at least from the logical basis.
Yeah.
This was the argument that I presented, primary argument against Christian Zionism. Would you agree with me that any
No, because
Messiah,
if I do, I'm screwed. I have no idea what you're about to say.
Well, would you agree with me that any Messiah which is named by Israel to be a new Messiah is going to be in the spirit of Antichrist?
It would be Antichrist, yes.
It would be Antichrist.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Antichrist,
No,
but in the
but
spirit of Antichrist.
Lowercase Antichrist. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And is going to have to denounce Jesus as being a false Messiah.
Prophet. Yeah.
Which pits them immediately against all of Christendom. Yes?
For sure.
All of them.
Yeah.
All Protestants.
There is no debate.
Yeah. No debate there. Yeah. Even the Mormons, even the JWs, all of them, right? All of them are going to be like, okay.
Everybody would be pissed off universally. It's a unifying thing.
Yes. Everyone's going to be upset. That's going to be the spirit of Antichrist. So then why would a Christian Zionist who knows that and knows that the Temple Institute there and Kufi are moving towards naming Messiah? Explain that to me.
So my critique, and I saw that, I
just want to interject one thing here is that there's also always this talk of the red heifer, right? Bringing in the red heifer, doing the whole slaughter or whatever. And I saw...
Shout out to Jimbob and his hat, saluting
you.
face emoji, MadeByJimbob, sparkling heart emoji, and the chat crew, saluting face emoji. God bless to all my American homies.
Thank you, Mrs. D. Appreciate that. Thanks for the bouncy house, bro. You're welcome. I saw a report that said that these people actually said they wanted to do a practice run of the red heifer, and they actually presented it as a practice run, but they allegedly, this is what was reported, that they actually did it. They actually did the deed. They tricked people into thinking it was a practice, and so they allowed it, so it wasn't like this big uproar. And they did it. They did it the way that they would say is authentic. So that's another thing that is not, if that's the case, it's not being talked about.
Don't see that in their documents. So the Temple Institute has a spokesperson in 2010 that did say that they are looking to do that, not as something that they have to do. So here's my understanding of it, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong.
They get millions and millions of dollars.
They get millions of dollars, but not to name a Messiah. So that's where I disagree with.
Gravewalkers is here again. Unbelievable, this guy. Gravewalkers, you had your chance to call in, didn't you? And you ran. What happened?
With you, I think the Jews are still looking for Messiah. That doesn't mean that they're looking to name him immediately. And here's my proof for that. They've had many people come forward over the years and say, I'm Messiah. They've not.
Yeah, they have all these people come in and say, I'm the Messiah. And they're all,
well, let's see your portfolio. How many businesses and LLCs do you have? Do you run a sex shop? How's your banking? You can't be the Messiah. You're not good at any of these things.
Excuse me.
Oi! You're the Messiah? Where's your chutzpah? Why are you wearing such broken, dirty sandals? You're hanging out with a prostitute. That's not a Messiah. A Messiah's shiny and well put together. What the Messiah? They said you were some sort of carpenter. Why aren't you a lawyer, a doctor? My Messiah is a doctor.
Not run open arms.
Thank you, Reed.
Including the guy that actually fulfilled all the prophecies. And I'm like, okay, I don't think that they're ready to do it.
So they're just moving towards the spirit of
temple.
Antichrist.
No, I think they're moving towards creating a temple. But see, I think this is where it starts to get a little muddy. Because I agree with you that if they named Messiah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, but they're...
We all internet. Your best hustle is that unfunny insults. Dude, you got... What are you saying, man? What are you saying, dude? I don't even know what your argument, Gravewalkers, is. What is it? I forgot what garbage you said last stream. It was so low tier. I'm willing to entertain anything at this point. I mean, it's Saturday. I'm at 19 of 50 in my chat goal with only an hour left. What do I care?
But what's the purpose of building the temple, right?
It doesn't have anything to do with the Messiah. To them,
it does.
Not
it
to
does.
them.
What about us? What about Christians?
Christians, yes, but we already know who the Messiah is, and so that's their...
In a few minutes, a better channel will pop up. They always do. Okay. Dude, just end it already. I wouldn't even care, dude. I wouldn't even care today.
Problem to deal with God.
Right,
I don't care if they have a temple or not. They're still
within our
not
theology,
saved.
This is a sign of what?
The temple?
The third temple being rebuilt, yes. What is that a sign of?
It's really irrelevant to Christians, right?
4.5 live, no way. No, this is happening. Is it happening to me now? Happened to Tony last night. It was hilarious. He started Show's Over after Orthothugs. About an hour in, he looks at his chat. It's like 13,000.
It doesn't
No,
affect
it's not.
how.
No. Okay. So I want you to look at this in totality.
Do you have a problem with my little hat, sir?
Okay.
So, and why I think that this has to do with eschatology. See, I believe that Christian Zionists and
Has Gerald ever read the Bible? Yes, probably. But the problem is he's a Protestant. And so this is the thing is like, if you're just like sort of like born into modernity in America, especially, you're born into an entire like culture and ethos of Protestantism. That's just a fact. That's just like, that's the reality. That's descriptively the reality of what we're dealing with. And so most of us, including myself, we've never come across, church history, the church fathers, the councils, go back to early temple lectionaries, holy tradition, the fullness of Christian metaphysics from an Orthodox perspective. Why would our parents ever, not only do we not have access directly to that, but in a lot of places where I grew up, there was no access to that. The internet didn't exist in the way it does now for the large half of my life, at least, or a little bit less than half. And so what do you get, dude? What do you get? You get snippets. You get your parents' sayings about things. You get like, smoke machine churches and all of this stuff, and you never piece it together that even in order to critique any of this stuff, you have to come from a holistic view. You almost have to presup this topic, and Andrew here has the task, it's a difficult task, to navigate through Gerald's presuppositions from a Protestant view, not debate them directly necessarily, but somehow talk about the problem and the misconceptions about this particular topic. Zionism. What is Israel? Are there any Christian obligations for political or religious Zionism is the question. Well, in order to ask the question, you can't just suppose Israel means the state like Ted Cruz. So Andrew has quite the job to do. He has to refute Gerald and correct him, but also not make the debate about his broken theology, but another broken theology. I mean, God bless him. Narissa Jones, $20. Have this $20 that Tommy would have spent on beer anyway. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All Christian Zionists are accelerationists. They're trying to accelerate their eschatology. They're trying to accelerate.
So they're trying to hasten the coming of.
Yes, they're trying to hasten.
The second coming. The
reason if you ask them, why is it that you want to move towards naming Antichrist? Why is it that you want to support people who are moving towards the naming?
Future Earth says, how can you not be an evolutionist and be Orthodox? That's funny. Orthodox, like we were once orcas.
Of Antichrist. Now you can say,
Jimbob really a Catholic? No, I'm not a Catholic.
Wait a second, Andrew.
I mean, I'm a real Catholic, if you're going to use the word, but not a Roman Catholic.
Drew, they're not naming one right now. So what? The entire religion and the entire state and all of the religious Jews are still moving that direction. They're not moving towards Christ. They're moving towards Antichrist. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, why would we support that? Well, what all Christian Zionists claim is that that's part of biblical prophecy for Christians. That stuff needs to come to pass in order for the events in Revelation to take place. And so what they're doing is they're trying to accelerate what you would consider Armageddon and the end times, right?
So I would disagree.
How is it not? So how is it not related to eschatology?
So I would disagree with. So first, let me split these things into just to two pieces. One is the accelerationists and those who are not. I grew up in this church and I've never heard that before in my life, ever, not one time. I know it exists though, so I'm not saying that it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if they're, and maybe you might have some statistics on this, but
it says 66. Yeah, I know it's not real. Rachel, we were watching Tony's show last night, and it was like 13,000.
Who
I don't know what's happening. YouTube's doing things. I don't know what moves they're making, but it's had a fairly negative effect on my visibility for some reason.
of the Christian Zionists?
But what I should do, Rachel, is take a screenshot of it and be like, "Yo, finally, I've arrived. Here I am."
Zionists, who would be accelerationists and who wouldn't be, right?
Prod on the spot.
For me,
this is Prod on the spot. Yeah, they should bring Prod on the spot to Pierce Morgan. I'll sell it to you. $7 million.
when I define Christian Zionism, and we can get down into that, I think I have a segment on that here.
I could just imagine Pierce Morgan introducing new segment called Prod on the Spot.
Here in just a minute.
What other
Or Andrew and Jay could just wreck Proddies.
reason could they give?
So,
Like, what other reason
it's not
could
it's
they-
not saying
would
that. So I'll give you the reason that I would give in my current view of eschatology. The temple exists in my view of eschatology. The Jews rebuild the temple. There's a peace treaty with Israel. The Jews rebuild the temple. There's the abomination that causes desolation, and it is in the temple. Okay, I don't think it is my job or Christian's job, and the Bible doesn't give any indication that we are supposed to help hasten that at all. It just is.
Agreed.
That's the view of most people.
But then what's the purpose of supporting a land which is moving? So if the idea here is God's blessing Israel, this is what Ted Cruz is saying, right? God's blessing.
They could ban you for it. Yeah, I know. That's like what Tony was saying. He was like, they could raid you and then report your channel, right? That's why I'm scared too, because I don't want to get my channel. This is my income, even if it's only 20 out of 50 here today, with an hour left. I don't know what's going on. Now, I've never really heard of it, but it makes sense to me logically that if you just raid people's chats with bots, then you have grounds to report it for being raided. But why would YouTube take that not as an aggression against the channel, but a strike against the channel? Why would that be the case? Why would the channel be the one to suffer for the raid, not the raiders? I don't get it.
He's
Israel
wrong.
and blessing the people who bless Israel. Right, but he's the spokesman for a lot of people with this view.
Well,
God's
unfortunately,
blessing
yes.
The thing is, there's no trolls either. There's no bots, you see? There's no bots.
you because you bless Israel. Okay, but why are we supporting Israel if they're moving towards Antichrist, meaning moving away from Christ instead of towards Christ? I don't understand. Why would we do that?
Bless the Antichrist, and you will be blessed. That makes a lot of sense.
What would Ted Cruz's response be?
Ted Cruz would say this, Andrew, and I'll debate you, Andrew. I'll call right into your show, Andrew. Hi, this is Ted Cruz. How you doing, Andrew? I see you on your debates. I wanted to get myself on with your podcast too. Talk to those little ladies. Get them to turn their ways, get back to God, Andrew. So what are we talking about today, Andrew?
Well, I saw you on Tucker Carlson, Didn't go well. Gotta say, it didn't go well for you. And I just had one question for you. Just one little question you think you can see if you can answer it for me, Ted. Little teddy bear.
What's that, Andrew? I'd love to answer questions for you, Andrew, but I gotta go. I'm on my way to the airport. Good, I'm flying out there to the Middle East. I gotta go kiss a wall.
We as Christians are moving towards that, right? Because that's what God commands us to do, and that's going to lead to the events in Revelation. That's going to lead to these events
heard him say
as far
that,
as
though.
eschatology goes. But that's that's
the view?
the only logical way it can go. What other reason would they have for doing
My
it?
10
What-
days
what-
work? No, my 10 doesn't need work. I've already arrived at the end result, the RJ of my 10. I've already arrived at it. It's it's a hyperbolic, exacerbated version of 10.
That's the joke, dude. It's not about accuracy. It's about a devolved pig human. You don't get it. You must be new here.
But it's not about sounding exactly like Ted Cruz. It's about
What reason?
I think
could you
Genesis
possibly
12:3. If you misinterpret Genesis 12:3 to think that you are supposed to bless the current nation state of Israel, including its government, which I think is very troubling, that people would think that necessarily. That in and of itself is enough. Like, you don't have to have any other cause
to support
Israel.
Why are you supposed?
Because God commanded you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, commanded you to support the state. Why, dude? It's very simple. How did he open with this horrific interview between Ted Cruz and Tucker? How did Gerald open with that? Tucker, just with a couple questions, demonstrated that the referent Israel in Genesis isn't the referent of geopolitical state Israel. And he's like, now he's defending the same thing. I don't understand.
It doesn't matter.
Why did God command you to?
Doesn't matter. He just said it. Why does?
But I think it does
baptism,
matter.
Hold on, but does baptism save me? There are verses that make it seem like it does. There are verses that seem like it doesn't. You know what? I don't care. You know why? Because Jesus commanded me to do it. Therefore, I am going to. Same thing here. If they believe God is commanding me to bless Israel, I will bless them. It doesn't.
Take Gerald. Come on. Who is them? Andrew just walked you with like one of those kid leashes through this argument that premise one is this state that you're referring to as Israel is actively Antichrist, actively the spirit of Antichrist. You agreed with the premise. And now you're going, instead of going, maybe my interpretation of what Israel means is wonky because of my Protestant views or whatever views seeped in. Instead of thinking that way, Gerald is thinking, well, no, obviously the way I understand what Israel means, both here and then, is right. And so even though it's true that Israel, as it's presented today, is Antichrist, up to some bad things, even though that's the case, I'm commanded by God to support this thing that could very well be misinterpreted from my own view.
Doesn't matter what that results in.
Tell Rimjob to play the video. Get out of here, dude. You can go watch the video without commentary. You dipshit. Leave.
Just matters that God told me to do it. I think 12:3 is enough, but I understand that there's a group
I understand that you can. So I'm trying to follow this logical step one, right? Premise one. God wants us to bless Israel from their view, right?
Yeah.
And Israel, according to Ted Cruz, is who? The modern nation state, modern government. He went ahead and acquiesced all those points. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So he's saying God wants us to bless this current nation right this second.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? I can only assume that blessings mean support, whatever they need.
I don't think he could answer that, by the way. That's
I don't think any of them can.
No,
right? Yeah. But I think that we can kind of make some inferences here, which are rational. Blessing them probably doesn't mean like leaving them at the mercy of their enemies and things like that, right? Blessing
defending them
probably,
against attack and stuff like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That would be the inferences that I would make there, and I think most people would make there. So what you're really saying is that God doesn't just want us to bless them, but to defend them, right? To assist them, to do all of these various things, to move our power structure towards being in obedience and
Hi, chat. Great stream.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Compliance with their power structure. That's what it essentially means by blessing them.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't know that they believe that.
I mean, Andrew, I know he would include this, but he's already established through the premises that premise one, Israel as we know it, Kufi, the whole job is Antichrist. It's anti-Christian. Gerald agreed. Premise two, we should bless premise one. We should bless premise one. Yeah? So God commanded you to bless the Antichrist? Make it make sense.
That fully, but I'm trying to figure it out.
You're going to Divine Liturgy tomorrow? That's beautiful. Thank you for letting us know, crew of good juju.
Because I don't think this is part of the problem. I don't think it's very well defined on their side. I don't think they could very well tell you, like, okay, well, I can come to you right now and tell you need to give money to the Temple Institute. They wouldn't be able to refute that.
But if Ted Cruz is sitting there saying we need to give a bunch of money to these guys, we need to assist them in any way possible, how is it? I mean, how is that idea of blessing not moving into compliance with the wills of Israel? Who gets to determine how they're blessed? right? I think that it's going to be Israel who gets to be the determiner under Christian Zionism as to how they're blessed.
Maybe, because the Bible does talk about what Christians' duty to bless. And we'll talk about Christian duties towards Israel here in just a minute. And I don't want to step on future topics in just a second. But it does. Listen, I understand that line of thought. I think it is very rational, and I think it makes sense. But I don't think it's necessary. I don't think that's where people are right now. I don't think people are thinking like, I have to align the power structure in the United States with Israel to be able to bless the people of Israel. I think most people would think, well, if I give money to the support of Israel, just to the general fund or something like that, or if we
the general fund, I mean, just, it's like a meme. It's like paying to a meme. You're like, I know, it's like BLM, right? BLM sold to people an idea, right? That's how it works. You sell an idea. I was talking about symbols before, the power of symbols. BLM was easy. It was easy for Black Lives Matter to sell itself as a symbol to people who respond to symbols. And it doesn't matter what they actually did with the money, obviously. They actually took it and committed fraud. But the idea was, oh, this is intentional. This is a part, now coincidentally, it's a part of the philosophy of doing good in the Jewish religion, which is a thing called Tikkun Olam, which is this view of like helping to heal the world. And so it's already sort of like threaded through what's considered philanthropy. The problem is that modern heterodox people who call themselves Christians are bit into this false view that, well, I'm going to help. I mean, I need help. And Israel, what better place to help than Israel, because it has a biblical association and there's a place, it's dear to my heart. I went there. I felt a lot. I felt a lot of stuff. This is why they ship people to Israel, by the way. They work on the softness and the goodness and the spirit. They bring them to Israel. They pay for everything, these politicians. They have this moment, they have this like religious experience. And I'm not even denying that there would be some element of that for any one of us. But then they manipulate the religious experience that these people have. They put a yarmulke on them and they say, kiss the wall. They go back home and they're convinced. They're convinced. They're probably going to start doing it in virtual reality. You know what I mean? They're like going to be like, did you get the email and the link from Israel? You're like, yeah. I downloaded the app yesterday and I put my Oculus on. Oculus. Oculus. Oh, dude. I gotta make a clip. I gotta make a skit of that. The Oculus. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The Oculus. That's hilarious. And then you too could take a virtual trip and have an experience and kiss the wall. And then you come back and you're like, well,
I had an experience there, and I'm supporting Israel forever. I don't care. The word Israel's in the Bible. The word Israel's in the Bible. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
We help them militarily if they get attacked by other countries. And some people would even say the $3 billion a year is part of what we should do. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we should probably pull.
Sexting the wall is fine. Sexting the wall. That's so dark.
Almost all of that, if not all of it, back, and from all of their enemies that we're supporting as well. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget the part where they slip me an envelope, 100K in it. The cool thing about the yarmulkes they give you when you take your trip to Israel, kiss the walls, when you get back on the plane back to America, you take the yarmulke out, there's always a little zipper. You open that little zipper, you see there's just straight cash in there.
Keep that money home. But that's part of my problem is it's going to die. It's the world being in conflict. Like there is a connection there. I don't see that.
You like my eagle hat? Eagle sound. I'll be here all day. Just kidding. I can't believe there's 13,000 people here, and I haven't even hit halfway to the goal today. Only 44 minutes left. This is depressing, honestly. This is depressing.
in Christianity, though.
Maybe we're putting the cart before the horse. Let's
Okay.
back up and kind of define some terms.
Sure.
Right? So first, when you say eschatology, what do you mean by that?
The study of the end times, or the things
Yes.
of the end times.
Okay. And you would include Revelation,
Revelation, Daniel,
and
Ezekiel, a bunch of different places.
It's a dying kitten also, yeah.
Places that have small references, large references, Thessalonians,
Okay.
things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so got it. So now the audience knows that too. And then when you say Zionism, would a fitting definition of Zionism, at least in modernity, and I would even argue
What's the goal? 50. We're at 21. Nice to see you. Kissy cat.
in its inception, be that the modern nation state of
Christopher Murphy, don't guilt me. Well, now he's free of guilt. Christopher Murphy's free of guilt. Paid his Jortlandian taxes. Paid for the daily entrance to the bouncy house.
Israel, you support the existence of the modern nation state of Israel. That is Zionism.
That's fair. I don't think
Super chat's only working. Yeah, that's another problem. I got 13,000 non-existing people here, and super chats don't work for some people.
there's any debate about that being kind of the basis. I know some people have additional things they throw in it, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if you're a Christian Zionist,
One of you could actually make up for the loss that today is for my self-respect, dignity, confidence, by using bobchats.com. Because guess what? When you use bobchats.com, YouTube, the devilish egregore that it is, doesn't take 30% of your money.
you have to support the
existence.
Bobchats.com.
existence of the modern nation. So if somebody comes out every 6 months and says the existence of this thing is about to not exist anymore, right, then you're under the obligation as a Christian Zionist to do what?
Whatever the
Kissy Cat comes in with a very generous $50. Give a W's in the chat. Give that comment a like. I don't have the patience to separate this into Teal's Eagle Screech. Man, I want to eat a fish.
Bible tells you to.
Well, if you're a Christian Zionist, though, by definition, you would be a Christian who believes that the nation state of Israel needs to exist.
I need a beer.
Not only has a right to, but needs to exist. So if that's the case, if they come out and say, hey...
Thanks again, Kissy Cat. Appreciate that. Got about $3.50, but I'll add $1.50. There you go.
Every few months, we're about to not exist. The Iran's about to nuke us. The Turks are going to invade. The Muslims are...
Am I doing the sound? Yeah, I do all my own sounds here. I was influenced by Tony over at Hello Listener. I think it's a good idea to do your own sounds.
Blowing us up in the street. The Palestinians are stabbing our children in the face. Whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
the Christian Zionist, though... Yeah, the Christian Zionist says what? No, we got to support the right to exist, blood, treasure, everything else. Now, I do think that moves into the idea of eschatology, especially because I do think that that they believe, Christian Zionists do believe, that it's through this support that they're going to be blessed from God, and that these things are necessary for the end times to come about. And I do think that they're trying to accelerate the end times. I think that the whole point of searching out these red heifers and doing all of these things is for the purposes of the acceleration project. And that's what I think it is.
I agree with that. That's what I think it is. I think you could track that that's what it is. Maybe you guys can verify it. I'll look into it after the stream, whether or not they did, in fact, do the red heifer thing and just claim it was a practice and they did it anyway. I have to verify that. But the other thing is you really can't separate deontology, Christian duties and obligations, sacraments, practices, ought claims, normative positions on how to live a Christian life. How could you separate that from eschatology? Well, you could do it by holding a heretical position or even a heterodox position it's faith alone. Voila. You know what I mean? Like, all you have to do is pick one of the solas from the hot dog cart. You know? There's a little food truck. What sola you want, sir? What sola you want? Holy moly! Dude. Holy cow! That is a big super chat! I don't know who that was, but I love you. I don't even know what to say. I have to, take a pause. Whoever that was, you can name yourself or not. Thank you so much. That was extremely generous, considering the halfway to the mark, the absence of my dopamines that I would experience have now been evened out because whoever that was. It was Jason Cassell. Cassell, you weren't supposed to do that, sir. You already said you went over your limit this week. I respect it. You didn't have to do that. Thank you, Jason. Send him a gift. I should. I'm gonna send him. I think he's military, so it'd be funny if I sent you my boomer pew pew. You'd laugh at it, dude. You'd laugh so hard at it. If you saw my Jason, if you saw my Ruger LCP 380 that has an American flag on it, you'd look at me with such embarrassment and disdain. The thing is, you can fit it right in your pocket. That's what I like about it. Right? Just no printing. So, not to talk about pew-pews on a channel that already suspect has 13,000 bots watching, which is prime for reporting. I really wish I could somehow merge the XL, with the Ruger. You can't have both, though, can you? Anyway, thank you so much for that, Jason. I really appreciate that, man. It's not a Christian, bro. So I just looked this up. Evangelicals, this is July 11th, okay? Evangelicals rehearse ancient red heifer ritual linked to a Jerusalem temple prophecy. They did a practice run this year. So let me tell you, I mean, it's like, how does Gerald here, and I kind of wish Andrew had this on hand just to kind of throw it his way live, but, what can you do? It's always easier to talk about it from the sidelines. But being that July 11th, this is reported, 2025, there's a practice run. A practice run, guys. Okay? Seriously? For Rizzle? My nizzle? You're going to tell me that you're going to... So, this dude's going to say, oh, well, I don't really think that, it means that they're, accelerating it. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's... it's like one of those things, it's like they believe this stuff, but it's like, I don't really think they're trying to accelerate it. They're just doing practice runs this year for the red heifer ceremony. It's just, just normie stuff. Just your ordinary. It's like Thanksgiving. It's like a yearly event. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Conditional there. These things need to happen in order for, and Charlie Kirk, by the way, has said this openly. These events
Gums
prophetically
McGee.
need to happen.
I saw the funniest meme. It was Top Gums, and it was Charlie Kirk as Tom Cruise just smiling. Oh, Charlie Kirk. Poor Charlie Kirk.
In order for the end times to be ushered in anyway.
Well, but
so
just
I do
because
think
those
it's an
events,
accelerationist agenda.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but just because those events need to happen doesn't mean that I am the one that is going to make them happen.
Agreed.
Like, so you can.
But you're not a Christian Zionist.
Okay, well, but I would have said probably more so, specifically at two churches ago. Yeah, there was a church that I went to where I ran into this quite a bit. They support Israel, even with people kind of splintering off. And
thank you so much, Vagine. Thank you so much. Really appreciate whoever that was as well. I don't want to give Vagine full credit just because her face shows up, but notice how Gerald here still speaks of a church as if churches are plural. It's pluralism. He doesn't even faze him. This poor guy. I mean, he'll convert. He'll convert. But still, it's just like something you pick up linguistically all the time, where it's just like, yes, it's a colloquialism. You give a little bit of charity, but honestly, it's very revealing. It's very revealing when someone goes, "Oh no, it was a couple churches ago I went to had this thing," and you're like, "Yeah, you're examining Christianity and participating in something that allows you this distinction between churches, right?" I mean, to me that's wild. Now, it wasn't wild before I became Orthodox. Or I should say it wasn't wild before I found Orthodoxy, even became a catechumen. But it makes sense that it doesn't occur to you as anything. For instance, I use this this kind of situation. If I leave my parish, my current parish, which is a location with parishioners and all that, if I leave that, I don't leave my church. I leave a parish. But with this Protestant disease, no offense to the people in the chat, but it really is, you don't have a body. You have multiplicity of churches. You don't call it a parish. When you leave a church with, stand-up comedian, funny man with the tattooed sleeves and the big belt buckle, pastor, Mike DeJohnson, when he quits, you go, "Oh, I'm going to leave that church. I really liked Mike, but it's just not the same since he left. I'm going to go find another church." You're actually not finding the same church at all. You're not finding another parish. It's all just splintered, I found 5 in the sofa. Thank you so much, Nathan. I appreciate that.
Man, if you haven't had a prayer shawl and you haven't done these things, you really have never connected to God. And I'm like, well,
Randy
hold on.
Balls, yeah.
Let's talk about this a little bit, because that's not really scriptural. I don't understand what you're talking about. But I would have said what Ted Cruz said. Those that bless Israel will be blessed. Those that curse Israel will be cursed. And
Miss D, thank you so much for the $30.99. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
that's not what Scripture says. Just to be clear, 12:3 says that if they bless you, he's talking about Abraham and he's talking about a people. That's very clear.
Actually,
right?
This is a really good segue here. Mm-hmm. So let's explore this. When you were that person who would have answered the way Ted Cruz did.
Yeah.
Is Andrew's mic messed up, or is that on their side, or it's got that? You guys hear the very faint distortion?
If a guy like me said, okay, what does blessing them mean? You would probably give the same answer of like, yeah, you got to support them and this and that.
I'd probably say mostly.
Paying my grift tariff. Yes, thank you. Pay your grift tariff. Thank you so much, Mrs. D. You know, thank you so much.
the prayer side
Yes, Rachel, the seed is Christ, right?
of things. I mean, obviously, I couldn't move government, but I've never
Sure.
felt compelled to give financially to purely Israel-related goals. Like missionaries in Israel, yeah, I felt financially moved to give
But if I
to
ask you
convert
this
to Christ.
question, then this is in support of movement towards Antichrist, movement towards the naming by Jews of their what we would consider a false Messiah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You'd have to.
Thank you so much for Gene and another from Miss D. $7.99 is much the goal. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. 30? There's still time. 30 and 30. No. 20 and 30. We got a new thing, 20 and 30 to go. 20 and 30. We can do it. 20 and 30, y'all. Make it happen.
See, at that point, what would your answer have been?
Forgot to figure out how to add a note. Yes, you got to write it underneath the thing. There's a little spot there. But I appreciate that. Fuel my fire. Wi-Fi Gospel, another 5. I think you got a Cocoa Melon raid. Cocoa Melon raid. That's actually the worst possible raid, wouldn't it?
Been from that.
It's got all the 3-year-olds because they can't type.
Gerald.
Well, if
What would you have said?
if somebody had told me, because at the time I was very, very into studying eschatology, because I was specifically teaching a class called The Christian's Response to Islam, and I was teaching how Islamic eschatology and Christian eschatology are actually incredible in that they overlap and they're exactly inverse, right, with the characters and their attributes and everything else. So I was into that. I would have never said that I thought that this would have been a push towards Antichrist. Supporting Israel would have necessarily meant that I was supporting a push towards Antichrist. I still don't believe that that's necessarily the case either, because I don't think it is.
Thank you.
I don't think it is absolute that my support for Israel is going to push them to name a false Messiah. I see it as something that God has commanded me to do. So when I pray for the peace of Jerusalem as commanded in the Psalms, or if I pray, or if I live my life in such a way as Romans 11 says, when Paul's telling you, make them jealous of you, that's supporting Israel in my.
I really like this. If there's ever a scripture reference, I like that it comes up. That's good. People should do that more.
My mind. It's not a financial.
Thank you, Mrs. D. Coming in with the full support with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, and welcome those of you who just received your work visas, including you, American Nacho. Work visa? You, American Nacho, a work visa just now getting a work. Shame on you. Shame on you, sir.
Thing, and it's not pushing for any Antichrist or temple or anything.
That's the one thing about buying memberships that could be embarrassing. It sort of outs people. You'll have like a person you talk to a lot, and you're like, oh yeah, how's it going and everything like that. And it's like, your friend just got a membership. It's I should make a custom response for when that happens.
That can be misconstrued. So at that time, I probably would have told you, pushing for Antichrist.
Would you pray for
like a fully produced with music and announcer voice, where it's your friend David, who you've known for years, he's followed you since the Prius days, has a membership now.
For any other group that's moving towards Antichrist?
I would pray for every single other group who's moving towards Antichrist. I would pray for all of them.
What would be special about Israel?
Nothing. That's my whole point. My whole point is I feel like Christians have kind of messed that up. I pray for them like I pray for everybody else.
Okay.
God is not done with them.
So then there's no special blood here.
Don't take away my secret special blood, Andrew.
When I feel like I need some special blood, I put on the Oculus. New Oculus from Sony. From Oixbox. It's on the Oixbox.
Oh man, I'm gonna take this to levels I didn't even know existed.
There's no special nothing here.
Have you? Hey, you hear Kiss the Walls coming out on Oixbox 360?
I mean, God is not done with Israel is a very kind of vague term. And I've said it a number of times, and I haven't dived to the depths of what.
Gerald, just go to liturgy. Come on, dude. Come on. The good news about this is this is a debate and it's on a show. The good news is that Andrew talks to Gerald. All the work is really done where you don't see it, so that's just going to be beautiful. So, I'm not going to go too hard on Gerald. But that guy's Orthodox, he's kind of a dick. Which I kind of am. So that's good. I just got to remind myself, okay, he's being worked on. You don't see it on the screen. It's off the screen. Glory to God.
What that exactly means.
Just lighten up, Jimbob. You're almost at the goal, buddy. Chill. Play some Oix box.
My belief is
now I want to order an Oculus like immediately.
That there's a reason that, and this is where maybe we would disagree on eschatology, that is it safe to say that you probably hold more of an Orthodox position on eschatology, that most of the book of Revelation has been completed up till about the 20th chapter or so?
Well, look, I'm not a specialist in Orthodox eschatology. Right. That's a study all in and of itself.
Tough. Jeez.
It is. The thing is, though, what I will say is this. And there's people I would recommend actually to have discussions on eschatology. The things that I mostly focus on these days are mostly church history and the ideas that, especially now in the last year, has become very politically relevant to dive into what's going on with what church fathers said about who Israel is, who the people of Israel are, what Christianity means, what our obligations are, especially when it comes to other nations, including any perceived Jewish nation, right?
Yeah.
And none anywhere in church history can you find anybody, any Christians anywhere talking about how if Jews establish a nation, then that's what Israel is. They always considered Israel to be us. We are the spiritual continuation.
Yeah. It's a spiritual distinction. It's a body. It's Christ. So it's like, it's not this place where it has a wall and there's people there and then the freaking dirty Rabbi Shmuley sells his dildos. With his daughter.
Oh, oi, oi, ee. What? It's the business. It's the business. Me and my daughter, we went into business together. Sell the schlongs.
You know what, Rabbi Shmuley? I was commanded to support you. I'm going to figure out a way biblically where I support you, Shmuley. Yosh, $10. I've been evangelical my whole life, but have grown increasingly disgusted with how disconnected it is from the church fathers. Recently found you and have been getting into EO, and it's so refreshing. That's amazing to hear, Yosh. In addition to watching people, talking heads like me, or listening to Jay or anyone else who's out there, Discords included, I do highly recommend the best place to go is walk yourself into a parish and experience Orthodoxy. So if you want refreshing, if you think the content about Orthodoxy online is refreshing, let me tell you, just observing a divine liturgy for the first time will be better than any Gatorade that you find on the internet.
Right? That's what Christians are. We're the spiritual continuation.
Rabbi Ding Dong.
Heretic, other than Galatians 3, you son of a gun. Most people don't know that, Andrew. Like, that's, so listen, yeah. I'm telling you, I had this.
Mirrored Universe says, someone gift this man another $250. Yes, but not Jason Cassell. Okay? Not him.
So
congrats on 14K. Thank you. Yeah, I organized the whole bot myself. Just bought some bots. I told them also not to say anything. Like Wi-Fi said, I was like, oh, Coco Melon has 13 million watching live. They're all 3-year-olds. They can't say anything in the chat. Nice.
People that have pitched replacement theology.
How long has Jimbob been orthodox? Just use the word orthodox, atheist. Don't be a putz for no reason. It's not even a funny joke. Orthodox, it doesn't make sense. There's no pun there. You're not making any connections, dude. I was baptized May 24th.
As this word, I think.
Yes, Chad Johnson, I can see this.
I've done a very effective job.
How long have you been gay? Yeah, atheist. How long have you been gay?
Because there are a lot of people who think the Jews are responsible for every single ill that the world has ever.
See ya, Fuel My Fire. Thanks for the donation, sir.
Heard of that would use replace.
Or ma'am. It's hard.
theology is, yes, the church replaced Israel to mean that God does not have any future plan to the Jews at all and that they were never special. Paul dispenses with that in Romans. Like, don't be arrogant. Are you kidding? The natural branch can be thrown off.
Yeah, and we don't follow replacement theology.
Right. You don't.
Either.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's a fair kind of critique.
It's not. It's not a fair. Well, but
it's not. It's just 13,000 dedicated feds.
But I understand what you're saying. But the idea here is just this question is old. It's an old question, and it's a very difficult one to even ask.
12 more. 12 and 18, y'all. We can do this. 12 and 18. We got
Which is, who are the Jews? Who are they?
Well, but that's easy. And here's why I say that. Not the bloodline part of it. That's a little bit more complicated because
that's
I know
harder, right?
Yeah, it's way more complicated because by the numbers, I believe more of the Palestinians that live there have more Jewish blood than maybe some of the Ashkenazi.
That's the question. That's the age-old question. Who are the Jews?
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna save it. That is a perfect. If I could get that out in a timely fashion, maybe use Jesse Wells's writing technique, which is Chat GPT, and everyone knows it. Jesse Wells. I don't care how strung out you think you are. I don't care how strung out and, hey man, I'm a struggling artist, bro. I wrote this in a hammock. Yeah, I have sandals, but I don't wear them. I have galoshes. I like my rain boots. Man. Who are the Jews that's going to hit. That's going to hit.
Nazi Jews or anybody else that would maybe lay claim to being the Jews of that land. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, you can have that conversation, but Galatians 3:29, I'll just read it. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed. And
who are the Jew? Who?
Heirs according to the promise. That makes it very, 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 very clear. Like, who is Abraham's seed? Who are the sons of Abraham? And I think what they were trying to say is like, guys, we didn't start a new thing. This is the continuation of the thing, which means we were all a part of this. If you're God outside of time, the church is the church throughout the Old Testament too, right? It's not a new thing that we've.
Yeah, what church is that, Gerald? Not your Protestant church. Sorry.
Created. It is just the thing. And
I think you can also find this. It's not just there, but I mean, there's tons of references moving into it. You have Malachi 1:11. God promises his name shall be made great among the Gentiles who across the world will offer incense, the pure sacrifice to him. The church is the fulfillment of that sacrifice. That's what it is. So the thing is, though, is that you have to dispense with dispensationalism, right? And the problem
you can't use words like that.
To clarify, you've been Orthodox. I've been, baptized for, would that be, is that only 3 months? May 24th? Yeah, I did, it was about 3 years of going. But yeah, technically, if you want to be technical.
Andrew, you're better than that.
Yeah, but the idea here is this. Kufi will always be running, and so will probably Mossad, Israeli intelligence, everybody else. So probably always be running counter propaganda against both the Roman Catholic and Orthodox Church because
and only half of them deserve it, and we know which.
Yeah, well, because they don't follow this Protestant
patron saint is James the Greater
form of theology, and this nun was completely correct when she pointed this out. We don't follow that form of theology. And so that is an existential threat to places like Kufi.
All I really want to know.
As you see these traditional churches beginning to gain a lot of ground in the United States. Their percentages are beginning to increase. And as kind of support wanes for Israel.
What were you before 3 years ago? Oh, it's like soft. It's like soft Christian. I was atheist for like 15 years, at least trying to be. So, but I got into it. Like I don't know if YouTube, you guys even, I don't know what percent even know this, but my initial entry into the world of the internet is a cartoonist. I'm still a cartoonist today. weekly cartoonist for a national publication. And I realized that the way in which I did my cartooning was philosophically based, but I didn't know that. And so I started getting into it. And then the people who were sharing my work recognized something. And then I would start engaging with people. Like, that's what got me introduced to someone like Jay Dyer and the rest, is that philosophy and political cartooning, at least in the genre that I do, were extremely related. And then I was looking at the absurdity of some of these claims from like a naturalist position or an atheist position about morality or truth and subjectivity, and how silly progressivism was because it's based on changing truths. And that actually was the thing that got me interested in a more rigorous pursuit of Christianity as I thought it was. But little did I know, zero did I know, there was actually something called church history. There was something called patristics. There was something called councils. There was an early church. There was a normative authority that compiled the Bible as we know it. And then I was like, oh, damn. So that filter, once you jump into that colander and rattle it around a little bit, there's only room for one narrow position. And from my experience, from my view, from all of my from a rational approach, from a philosophical approach, from a practical approach, from a theological approach, that single colander hole there's only one thing that can fit through it, and it's orthodoxy.
You're going to see a lot more of kind of the megala power preachers preaching more of this type of gospel, because if they can't bamboozle you into support through victim.
Didn't Martin Luther hate the bagels? The OG one? Yeah, I think so, Jason. Not Junior. He was a puppet. The guy who screamed a lot about diversity. I know it sounds like a passionate black man is saying and writing this speech, but just like a Jesse Wells, I have my own chat GTP. It is called Chat TP. Yes, I'm sorry all you people who think I wrote my passionate, preachers sounding charismatic sermons about diversity and inclusion. The fact of the matter is my speechwriter was a bagel.
Through victimhood, they're going to try to bamboozle you into support through your theology.
Yeah.
And that's what's actually going on, I think.
Yeah, and look, I think I don't feel like this is the...
I have a dream. I have a dream where this nation can put down its walls and pour all the different ice cream flavors and colors into one big bucket and put the blender on. I have a dream. I have a dream today where the populace and the citizens of this country are a mixture of indiscernible gray sludge. I have a dream.
Driving... this might get me in trouble. I don't feel like this is the driving kind of...
I have a dream that all the work that you black people have done pre-civil rights and all of the businesses and the families you have together can be disassembled through the welfare state. I have a dream. I have a dream one day where the clear advantage of your own voluntary segregation will be challenged. I have a dream.
Problem with dispensationalism that a lot of people do. Like, let me say it the reverse. Is this the only problem that you have with dispensationalism?
No, of course not.
Okay, so I didn't think so, but
one rooted piece of bad theology has a tendril which destroys all other branches of theology. So that's why having a strong root leads to good theological branches. Bad roots have bad theological branches because you have to reinterpret
you can get
all
further
kinds
and
of
further
things.
away from the truth very easily. So I definitely agree with that. So in dispensationalism, that's a topic for another time. But
he's gonna go. It might take years with this guy, Gerald. He's gonna do it.
I
Sure.
imagine that I would have grown up in fairly dispensational churches, but
Sure. Me too.
I was never like guilted into giving to Israel.